Hello, hello, welcome back to my channel. Today what I want to do is play with these mini paper bags that I got at Dollarama. They're really tiny. What I want to do is play with mini paper bags. And I want to make tabs out of mini paper bags because, you know, why not? And it will work. So they will open up. And then you can put something in them. And with small paper clips, not the big ones, not the big bugle ones, but the littler ones, you can add them. I tested it to a journal page. It's a little tricky. The amount of space on these little paper bags is very tiny, but it works. And it will stick out just a little bit, like so. And whatever is inside shouldn't fall out because the paper bag itself won't open all the way. These from Dollarama are not that big, so what goes inside has to be fairly small. So what I did, that's a Craft-A-Lunch about to happen, is printed out some of the fussy cut elements from the freebie that Mandy at Sunflowers and Doors had. I think it was this week. They're the little tickets, and there's a couple other little things. So you can put those in there, clip it on, and then, as you can see, that will stay inside. So if you're not in Canada, I don't think Dollar Tree sells these small paper bags. I'm going to go into the one I opened already. You can make your own, and I did play around with it. You wind up with all kinds of different sizes because you're making your own. They're a little bit head busty, so none of mine, no two turned out the same way. I made 3 of them. Some of them are fairly like crooked. Some of them are really big, some of them are small. They're all over everywhere. So I'm going to show you how I made this one. Not how I made this one because it I don't know, somehow or other it messes with my head. I wind up with it to about this point, and then when I try to do the gusset, if I'm trying to get it to fold so that you have a proper gusset, it just, I don't know, somehow or other I can't. You guys are probably all like skilled at it. I'm not. So you don't need it to be very deep. The depth of this will kind of determine how deep your tag is. You need, on this one, I did my gussets 3/4 of an inch. So this is 1.5 inches. So you need 1.5 inches plus however deep you want your tag to be. So if you cut it at about 3 inches, then you've got 1.5 inches and 1.5 inches, which would give you lots of depth. Or you could do this a little bit narrower and this 1.5 inches. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this part a little bit narrower than what I did this one. So I'm going to cut it at about, I don't know, maybe 2 3/4. And then 4 would be plenty wide. I would Don't necessarily put a burnish in this quite yet. The way that you would make a policy envelope from here, just fold it somewhere, anywhere, like so and like so. And don't glue it quite yet because you need to make some folds. But give this a good burnish here and here. And if this isn't completely straight, you could come in here. And just even up your little, so that you have 100% square or rectangular, whatever, so that it's completely even, so that your top and bottom lines are straight. And then like so. I'm only taking a sliver off of the top and the bottom. It's mostly just so that I know that those are even. Like so. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it folded like so, and I'm going to create my gussets. So I'm going to go in between 1/2 inch and 3/4 of an inch. 3/4 of an inch would give me this. I want it a little bit shallower, so I'm going to go at 5/8 of an inch, and I'm just going to score down there, give it a nice good score, and it should give you a score on both sides. And then I'm just going to flip it around and do the same thing at 5/8, like so. So now I've got a burnish and a burnish. Now the other thing that you could do is you could say your little bottom should be similar depths, so about 5/8. So you can come along and put another little score. This will be, no, that's not right. Needs to be deeper than that. I'm gonna do at 1 inch as well. Like so. And give this one a good crease. You're not going to cut any of the pieces off, unlike if you were doing like a policy envelope. And you can also score along where your gussets are going to be. And you want both your gussets to come out, with the center part being the valley. So hill, hill, and valley. So now if you glued it together, you would have something about like that. And that is, so this will be your bottom, this will be your tab, and your little gussets. But in order to make it a little bit easier, what you need, now you can glue this little flap. And if you look at it, if you glue it like this, you're going to get that line kind of inside your flap, your gusset. I don't know if you can see that, but if you do it like that, this little line will be inside your gusset. And if you don't glue it properly, you can see that might catch. If you glue it this way, you're not going to have anything that will potentially catch on your gusset. So much like a policy envelope, make sure that my glue actually works. I need to put more glue in my bottle. It's getting low. I'll put glue along the edge of one side and the edge of the other side. That ensures that I have glue at both edges of where they're going to join. And give that a minute or so. Well, maybe not a minute. It's barely art, so it's going to be pretty quick. A very small amount of time to dry. Now, in order to get the little like folds, it is easier if you pre-fold. So what I'm going to do is from the corner here where it joins, I'm just going to come and try to fold this at about a 45-degree angle, like so. And at about a 45-degree angle, like so. And you do have some bulk because of that seam, but don't worry about it, it'll be fine. You can crease that with your bone folder, with your fingernail. And if it's not 45 degrees, don't worry about it too much. It does need to be deep enough that it's not going to interfere with the bottom of your little doohickey. This, whatever you call that. The bottom of your tab, paper bag, doohickey, thing, it's a thing. So, the other way to do it is to line it up like so. This would be the simpler way to do it actually, is to line it up so that your little lines of each are even and then fold it. Yeah, you could do it that way. Because you're going to then fold it like so, and like so, and boom, you have a paper bag. Or a portion of a paper bag. It's like the shallowest little paper bag, because you don't need an entire paper bag for this. You only need like a section of a paper bag. So you can come in here if you want to get like fully gluey, which is a good thing. You can put glue in this little triangle, and sorry if my head got in the way there, and this little triangle, like so. And you don't need a lot. And then just kind of glue that down, and glue that down, so they sort of-ish stay. And here, and here, which you're not going to see at all because of the angle. Boom. And boom. And then you just need to, you only want to put glue on here, on that triangle. And the triangle, and probably not in here, because there's no bag here. So if you put glue in this middle section, there's no bag there. So waste of glue and not going to hold anything anyway. And then you can just like squish with your fingers to hold that down. You know, it would have helped if I had done the right side first. Try that again. If you're doing this, when you're doing this, if you're doing this, don't put this one down and the one with the glue over top of it. If you've got no glue on this side, put the glue on, glue the glue side down, and then put glue on that one. Do as I, you know, didn't do, like that. Trying again. So keep this side back, it's got no glue on it. Squish that down, and kind of burnish this down a little. The advantage to working with Bearly Arts is it gives you a bit more wiggle room when you mess up. Now what you're going to do is you're going to put glue on this triangle and this triangle. Throw your glue around the room, do-si-do, you know. Now you have the shape of a bag. Oh, that was why I was that whole score line thing. Because what you need is you need for your bag to become a bag. Like so. Like so. And from here, I would give it a good burnish to get all the bits to kind of stay where you want them to be. Some of your corners may not be perfect. It may not be 100% square. If that bothers you, you can add score lines before you do all that bottom folding. But I found that I couldn't figure out where to put the fold here in order to get, it's probably at like 3/4 of an inch from somewhere. Yeah, math was never my strong point. So now you have the equivalent of like a little baby paper baggy thing that, so what I'll do is I'm going to hold this little part of the bag kind of out of the way, and with my notch punch just create a little tab like so. If you've got a tab punch, you could use that. I do not own a tab punch, so that's the extent of it. And I did it again. I meant to be more careful when I folded the bottom over to make sure I folded it so that the fold went on the side that had the seam. Oh. Yeah. So you probably should. Yeah. Fold it that way. Like so. So that the fold is on the seam side. Because otherwise that seam is going to be in the way. And if you're, you can add more glue on this little bottom bit now that you've got everything in place, just so that little bag part stays shut. I guess, no matter what you do, I was going to say you could fold it the other way, but no matter what you do, this bag part is going to show. So you can cover that. That would be the simplest thing to do. But this is going to be the back of the little tab. But we'll cover it anyway. Just so that it's not quite so obvious that it's a bag. And you could decorate this side as much as you wanted. But we're going to treat this as the front side. And I'm going to do the same. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of my offcuts from the Faded Impressions kit and just put random stuff on here. And then I cut out a bunch of these. I printed these 6 to a page, so they're small and they will fit really nicely on there. These are leftover from when I made those journal cards with the tailor-made journals and added the borders around them. I also have, like, I have all kinds of these little bits and pieces. I do this every time, like every time. I'm like, oh, I should use this. No, I'll use that. Little bit of book page. Like so. And oh, I like that. Well, that's kind of cool. The advantage to some of these little pieces of paper is when I initially printed the digital kit, half of it printed upside down on the, I printed it like back to front so that I printed both sides, but the wrong side or one of the sides printed upside down for every page, so they would be like waste paper, but nothing is ever wasted with me. And then I have obviously still tons and tons and tons of cheesecloth on my desk. This was around some flowers, and I rescued it from the garbage. I'm not sure I like the color of it, so I think I need to like color it with something else. Oh, I might try that alcohol ink. Ooh, I have never tried doing fabric with alcohol ink. So I think there may be some experimenting in my future. Perhaps yours, if you're interested. I want to put that so that I can see the cheesecloth but still see the writing of both. I'm not asking for much. Not at all. Oh well. And I just, all of these little fussy cut bits, these images, are on regular copy paper. They're not on anything heavier than that. If you want something heavier, definitely printed on like photo paper or whatever. And then you could very easily, you could open it up if you're going to put any kind of an eyelet in it, so that you don't put an eyelet through the entire thing. And let's see if we can even get that anywhere on there. And of course we can. Okay, I've said it before, I will say it again. If your eyelet is bigger than your hole, your eyelet is sharp, it's metal, just push it through your hole. You don't need to use a pencil to make the hole bigger. You don't need to do any kind of calisthenics like that. Just, it's a little piece of sharp metal and it's a piece of paper. Push your sharp metal bit through the piece of paper. Boom. And you have, oh, that's so cute. Oh, that is so cute. So cute. So then if you put that in your journal, that would go in your journal like so. And it's only going to go at the top of your page, because the paper clip has to go on that little fold, so it can't go down any further on the page. So as long as you don't mind it being at the top, that's what it would look like if you used it as a tab. Might show a little bit on the front, so you could put a dangle there, but that's kind of the idea for that. And then obviously you could stuff it with 112 different little things, like, I don't know, whatever fits. As long as it fits in that little spot. Little tab from the kit. Some little things, like so. And then it's almost like Happy Mail within, because that's not necessarily noticeable, but then you're going to look at it and go, hey, why is that so big? I did try gluing it to a page, so you could, conceivably I won't because this is a different kit than this one, but you could glue the back of the paper bag and it will open up like so. One of the things I like about putting that paper clip in is it holds it completely in place until you need it to be open. So you could do it that you put the paper clip on there just to hold it there, but also glue it. And I think I figured out, no, you can't. I did play with it to see if you could glue it here on the fold side, but you can't get it to fully open if you do. I think you might be able to, but when you open it, it kind of opens. You have to kind of pull with the page when you do that. But that might give you another little idea if you are able to find some of these little baby paper bags, what you could do with them. So if you were going to use, this is if you make your own, if you use one of these that came from Dollarama, what you would do instead is you would just cut it however deep you want it. So I cut it so that that's maybe 1/2 inch. So then you've got a little bit of brown paper that you can use at some later point. And yes, I just threw that in on the corner of my desk because, yeah. And then punch your tab. Sorry about that banging noise that makes when I do that. And punch your tab like so. Now on this one, these are glued so the fold, that glue is on the gusset. So you might want to come in here and put a little tiny bit of extra glue just to make sure that that is fully glued down on the entire gusset. And I would give that a bit of a burnish because it's only sort of, I thought I did a lousy job of folding, but these are intriguing. But hey, they were $1.50 for 10, so let's not complain too loudly. A little bit of book page. Like so. You could ink your book page, you could ink your digitals. Anybody who has been around here for a minute knows I ink very rarely. Except for when I did Creep on June. I busted out my ink like crazy for Creep on June. And let's see what I've got. 4 little bits of paper. That's nice. I am going to, when I do The Airy cheesecloth like this, I put a whack of glue all over and then just kind of lay the cheesecloth down and poke at it a little bit with my fingers so that it semi-adheres. I don't worry too much about it. And then any extra cheesecloth, I just kind of cut it off. I don't worry about whether the glue is still wet. It's going to be. I just let it sit there. And then whatever I'm gluing over top, I just come in, add glue to it as well. So there's going to be glue and glue. I don't worry about that too much. Like so. And if there's glue over here, it doesn't matter. And also if this doesn't stick down, just come in and add a little tiny bit of extra glue. And then let's use this one because it's got more blue in it. Like so. And then open that up. Hopefully that's dry enough to get my crocodile through without causing too much of an issue. Okay, that might not go in because this is smaller. Try to get that opened up. Aha. You know, that wouldn't have stuck if you'd let your glue dry. Joys of filming. Stick that through. So, all right, let me clean my desk off and I'll show you my two options. Okay, so if you make your own paper bag, look at how close those are. Those are almost identical. Huh, go me. So if you make your own paper bag, that does have a deeper little bottom, which I kind of like. And then stuffed up with some stuff. This one is not. Let's put a couple little things in there, like so. A little, you know, pieces of paper because, you know, we're gifting our friends scraps. Sorry, whoever. I'm not, like, you know, if you were doing it as Happy Mail. So taking a purchase paper bag and making a little paper bag tab and building your own and making a little paper bag tab. I think those are so cute. Those are so cute. They will add bulk to your journal because of the bottoms of them. It does look like the one I made is a little bit thinner than the purchased one. But they, you know, have fun with those. Make your own. Make them as big as you want, as small as you want, as silly as you want. Yeah, anyway. Until next time, have a really nice crafty day. Bye.